You'll never touch a paintbrush again. That's what he said. You'll never touch a paintbrush again. And in my soul, I'm like, I just want to do it. I just want to be normal.
You even have like a Travis Kelce painting back there.
Yes, it was a huge moment.
This is?
Yes, Jack Sawyer, 6'5", 250.
Big guy.
Just, oh yeah. These guys planned a whole revival on campus.
Can you explain that a little bit more, like your worldview on living creatively and how it kind of plays into relationships too?
Yeah,
So I heard you play trombone.
Oh, yes. Have you seen the video?
Yeah, I saw it. Saw it.
I mean, what'd you think?
Impressive? It was great, man. Yeah, it was great.
I put that on my Instagram.
It's better than I could do.
Yeah. And I think when I put it down, I announced not a single lesson or whatever. Because that's some movie line. That's from a movie. Oh, it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not one lesson.
You don't need lessons. Yeah. Just rip it.
I tore it up.
It was for all of you guys, it's the like Ohio State
fight song.
Yeah. And you're like trying to play along.
Right after they'd scored, we were at a tailgate in his driveway, Barry's driveway, and we had just scored.
My uncle.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get Andrew's slide trombone. It's inside. I'll find it. Like, I don't know what. It's just, that's the part that I'm saying irritates my wife. Like, why do you went in someone's house, found their son's while he was away at college, came out, just started playing.
Just doing it.
Yeah.
Just the impulse, just fun things, impulsive things.
Yeah,
seize the moment. You and I are very similar. Well, I'm excited for you to be here. We're live. Welcome to Created to Create, guys. This is Shaun Kinley. You can see here, Shaun is doing some really incredible things. Big Ohio State fan.
Yeah,
you are
nice.
too. We coordinated today our outfits. we can do a little OH real quick if you want.
OH,
Ready? OH.
I-O.
Yeah, let's go, baby. We can do the hand signals too. All right, ready? OH.
I-O.
Let's go.
Back in the stadium already, man.
Exactly. Just as they go around the stadium. OHIO, it's my favorite thing.
I was at the national championship.
No way, really?
Oregon. The Oregon one, in Dallas.
In 2014.
Yeah. And we had it like kind of locked up, if you remember, like by third quarter. And like
we stomped
the second half of third quarter, for sure all of fourth quarter, and they took over the whole stadium. Oregon did not travel well. They were just spelling out OHIO the whole fourth quarter.
That's crazy.
The Ohio State fans, they're the worst winners and the worst losers.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it.
We are on multiple different polls. We are always ranked number one as the most toxic fan base in college football.
And we're proud of it.
And we're proud of it. You see every time all the Ohio State fans in the comments, they're like, yeah, that's us.
Yeah, we cheer when they burn couches and all that.
Your stuff is amazing, dude. I mean, I've told you a bunch already, but just sitting here as I'm setting up, like just looking at all the paintings, there's just so many different types of paintings, like things that you have painted, but also so many iconic moments, so many iconic people, and then not to mention the Jesus painting, which we'll get into and talk about, but just beautiful, beautiful work, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, as you mentioned that, I remember thinking about, at 7 years old, wishing, hoping maybe one day I could do this. I got a poster of Leroy Neiman, who was a famous sports artist. He was in all the Rocky movies except for the first one. Mm-hmm. He did these famous shots, and I just was inspired. We had gotten a poster from him from McDonald's. I opened it up in my dad's back seat, and like, this is so cool. This dude painted this in New York City, and I have a copy of it here, and I tacked it to my bedroom wall and looked at it for years, and it was inspiring. And I think there was something in me that drew me to that. And it was a God thing that I got that. But I think God puts a seed of creativity in you, in each of us, style, everything. And when I saw that, something in me lit up. And I'll never forget it. I remember right where we were on Pearl Road and looking back at the Golden Arches. I'm like, and it just started clicking,
That's so cool.
And then fast forward to here, and making prints of artwork that's inspiring, that was inspired by him, that I'm drawn to, representing around where I live, what things I'm interested in, and be able to sell prints that have other people interested as well, and enjoy those things on their walls and have a whole gallery full of. It's just something I dreamed of, because you'll have I've got one really good one that's selling. Now I've got 3 that are selling well. And it just seems like this is going to take forever.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's kind of here, you know, you're like, all right, I have a plethora of paintings. They're in print form and,
Right, because you don't just sell the paintings; you copy them, and then you also sell them like autographed as well. Like certain big moments, you'll be able to connect. We can talk about in a little bit. You'll be able to connect and get the people to actually autograph, which is super cool.
yeah. And that's the way Leroy Neiman reached me in Strongsville from his Manhattan art studio.
Yeah.
Was through a print, you know, like, because there's all these price points, you know, otherwise this kid in Strongsville wouldn't have that. So I think the print was an important thing to have various price points, various, you know, touch points for people.
Well, it's a beautiful space and beautiful work. Like I said, it was cool actually. Earlier when we first walked in, your studio was open to the public still, and there were a few people walking in. I don't know. I just got to see you interact with some of the people that were interacting with your paintings and hear some of the conversations, and you know, they were asking you about it. You were opening up, and you know, they were kind of getting emotional looking at like the Jesus painting and just like admiring the detail in the art. To me, that was super cool to like get a firsthand glimpse of, because I know like as a filmmaker, it's tough to get that kind of feedback. You have to like show it on the big screen to get that tactile feedback. And so for an artist, I can't even imagine like the joy you get from like people coming in and just like looking at your artwork, creating different, I don't know, stories of their own through it. And yeah, I don't know, it's just really cool. It was cool to see.
Yeah, it is really a blessing, this this space, because we're only open one night a month. Like tomorrow night will be the night we're open for 4 hours one night.
Wow.
And it'll be just a big, like a lightning strike. All the galleries, all 80 galleries are open. All these people come in, and so you get this big teeming group of people, and you know, 90% of them are just looking and checking it out, being inspired, visiting artists, but 10% will purchase, and they purchase big, and then, or they'll give you feedback, and it is great. Everyone gives you feedback, but to not have to do it every night, like if I had a gallery that was open every night. This place is just genius. The owner, he's just genius. I said, you know, just one night a month, this third Friday events, everyone invites all their people. It's a big event, you know, so it'll be like packed in here.
Yeah.
And then you can just, you know, the Lord makes these opportunities to talk to people, or they talk to you and encourage them. I've had people be like, you know, you need to do this, you know, or it's wonderful.
That's so cool. Well, there's so many things I want to talk about, and we're going to get into them. But my first question I kind of want to hit at is, like you mentioned, you were like going to pick your son up for wrestling. So most dads aren't necessarily in a place where they pursued art and have a whole studio, but yet they're still a dad, a coach, a teacher. What's that life balance kind of like? How did you get there, and also how do you operate in that now?
So it's wonderful, and I do feel like sometimes, like,
I have zero experience, by the way.
It's all right. You'll be ready.
Single guy.
Yeah.
No prospects.
But see, all this stuff you're doing now is preparing you, the grind, the stuff like, you know, like all that grind of, because that's kind of the way my life always was, was just this grind. So then when life hits with family, it's easier, because you're doing it for, like, you're not doing it to, you know, make a tuition payment. I'm doing it for my son, you know, like, it's like, of course, this is a soul that's going on, living for eternity. If I invested in cutting this lady's lawn so I could pay my tuition payment, I am for sure going to stop and invest fully in this. So you'll see, it's like, it'll be fun. But, and that's kind of the way my life always had been. And I kicked to this, people always like, in high school, they were like, how are you doing all this? Because I was like, the same way, like, had my own landscape business. I was, wrestling, you know, and a high level, and then good grades, and doing my artwork. And everyone's like, how do you do all this? I'm like, I don't know, I just do it. I kind of thought everyone did it, but then I did my master's degree in special ed, and to get licensed as a teacher. And that really taught me about all these different dysfunctions. Well, they call them dysfunctions. They're not. They call these things, and this one was ADD. They're like, oh, AD, and they're describing it and all the bullet points and all the other things. People are like, oh, that's terrible. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of screwed up. You know, traumatic brain injury, you know, and then, but but they just give you the negative symptoms. So ADD, they named all these symptoms, and I'm like, and everyone's like, that's screwed up. And I'm like, that's kind of normal, isn't it? And they're like, I'm like, that's me. I am this. Well, really, that has enabled me to do all this stuff. Like it's not a deficit. It's not a disorder. It's just about attention. And you have like high spiked versions of attention for shorter spans. So I am super excellent at something for a short,
right.
In an ideal world. If I have to go 8-10 hours, I can do it just out of discipline. You can will your way through it, but I can just, I was like just teaching and crashing out on students like 6 hours ago and crushing their souls with their grade. Like, you're going to sit there and do the thing.
What's the worst grade you gave?
I have a kid at, I don't know, is it a HIPAA violation? I got someone at 42%.
I don't know.
I don't know. I always tell them it's a HIPAA violation.
As long as you don't name names, I guess.
Yeah. I got someone at 42%. I believe he's going to get it up.
Sheesh.
He is going to, yeah. And there's only about 4 kids that have gotten lower than an A minus.
I got a 38
like
on a
years.
test one time in college.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
definitely.
was not art, right? That was probably physics. Like,
Yeah, it actually was.
yeah,
It was
I knew
physics.
it. That's what I got, a 33. And yeah, in physics.
Hey, physics is tough. It's so cool, but it's tough.
It is cool. The second time I took it, I did better. Because it's
Same.
the only thing I had to take it twice. Did you have to take it
I had
twice?
to take it twice. You kidding me? I was not a math kid. I'm a creative and writer. Like, I was always a writer. So my strongest suit was like writing papers and stuff.
Yeah.
But back to the ADD. Talking about that,
made it. I mean, that's
yeah.
my gifting. Really, I tell that's my gifting. That's what helped me do it. Like, this wonderful thing that they've mislabeled ADD enables me to just crush hard. I go to wrestling practice, coach wrestling, click over into art mode, and that's just the way God made me to do it. They used to call it Renaissance Man. It used to be a positive thing. The Renaissance Man, for sure, would have been on an IEP today.
Yep.
Like, they would have put that dude in like a special pull-out room, and they just make it like, I'm not crazy about it. I'm all about helping people, but don't make them a victim. It doesn't prepare you for life. I'm so glad I was born in the 80s, or they would have had me thinking I was like broken.
Right.
I'm absolutely not broken, and it's one, and I thrive in that kind of situation.
Right. Like kind of the craziness almost. Like, there's an order to it now, obviously.
Yeah,
but at the
and
same
there was always
time,
an order, but it looks like chaos to other people. There was always an order.
Yeah.
Because I was team captain. I ran a landscape business while in high school. I made more than my teachers while I was in high school.
Yep.
So like, it doesn't look like it's orderly. It's not like, it drives my sister, who's an accountant, it drives her bananas, because she's like, Jiminy Christmas, Shaun, like, this is a disaster. Like, you can't just do this from all accounts. In some cases, she is right. Like, I need it.
I definitely have, my siblings and other friends that keep me accountable too. I think the biggest thing is communication. So like, if you're somebody who's got ADD to some extent and you're just like kind of all over the place and you're able to have like that high output rate at a short amount of time, communication has become like the biggest thing for me to learn, because I think about these things all the time, like different things I need to do. And I'm like, boom, 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 need to do them. But I realize that if I don't outwardly communicate with myself, but then also outwardly communicate with others about the process and what's going through my mind and how I'm going to accomplish all these things and when I'm going to accomplish them, or even, hey, I can't accomplish this, I'm pushing it back, and, just going with the flow that way, but communicating. If I'm not doing that, then things start to crumble, because nobody around me knows what's going on in here. And I think with people who don't necessarily deal with that and they're more like one-track minded, it's easier, because if they're one-track minded, other people are like, okay, he's not communicating, but I kind of know what he's going to do. It's predictable. But with me, and I'm sure like with you too, it's kind of unpredictable. So we have to be communicating even more to people.
Yeah. Well, and you'll see, like, there's a lot of wonderful things about being single, but that's one wonderful thing about being married to the right person, is the right person will balance you that way. My wife she can't predict my behavior, but she can start to see like she'll just say, Shaun, just do this now. Just like, you need to lock in on this. Don't, even for this interview, she's like, don't you need to be going? I'm like, yeah, I do. But I'm gonna, I don't know, change my pants right now or whatever. Or I don't know, or like change I started washing dishes. She's like, just go. Like, you wash the dishes right now. So, yeah, it was.
You were getting nervous for my interview, right?
I was.
You was,
and that's what
yeah.
you do. Like, you start procrastinating. Like, let me find something else important.
That's funny. So, I'm not that scary. Don't worry.
Yeah, no. But you don't want to screw the thing up. This is a great deal. What you're doing is
Thank
wonderful.
You, man. Thank you.
I want to make sure I do well by everyone involved, and so yeah. But when you find the right person, that's like it's really wonderful. Like she like kind of guides me there, and it's great.
That's beautiful. That's so cool. Well, I want to spend a little bit of time just being in your studio really quick and just be a little tactile with the pieces that are here, because I spent a little bit of time like looking at them earlier. And I just want to talk about like the way that you paint, and then also some of the specific paintings and what they mean to you and why you even painted them. The first one I want to go with is the one right behind us, because I'm a big fan of it, as you guys can tell.
So yeah,
this is
Jack Sawyer, 6'5", 250,
big guy.
Just mammoth. So and that's him blasting his old roommate down.
Quinn Ewers.
Yes, and just ruining. There's a piece of his soul that is forever jammed into that turf right there. It's just never coming out. Like, it's gone. And
I'm
Sawyer,
laughing because I'm a toxic Ohio State fan.
Yeah. And Jack Sawyer scooped it up and ran away with it, 83 yards. So it was just such a critical moment.
Sealed the game.
Yeah, because this honestly game probably was the championship. I mean,
it really was. Yeah,
it was. One play before, honestly, I mean, if we're being open, the play before, it was a sketchy.
I was biting my nails.
I know.
Yeah.
The play before, he threw one in the corner of the end zone, I think. Or no, it was two plays before. I mean, and they called it like I don't know. They called a penalty that pulled it back.
Right.
I thought it was gone.
Yep.
This could have been a tie score, and instead we're up by 14 on that play.
Crazy.
So it's pretty amazing. And he's just a great dude. He's from Pickerington, Ohio. He's from Columbus.
You got to gift this to him as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I got to meet him about a month ago, and I gifted him a big canvas print redone, and it was just it was in Columbus, so there's just a mammoth line. That was the biggest line for any. There's 20 different Ohio State guys. He had the biggest line of anyone.
Oh, I'm sure.
Easily, really far.
After a play like that, you better have it.
Yeah.
You put the whole state of Ohio on your back with that.
Well, and he ripped down the Michigan flag in that Michigan game too.
Yep.
So he was the dude who was, like dudes raised in Columbus are like, they know it's like innate in your guts. That is going to happen. This is going to get ripped down. This is not happening. Where other dudes maybe don't get he lurched into action on that case. This was awesome. He just seems like a great dude. He seems super down to earth. So all these things wasn't mine in choosing this image, because I had to find one image from that whole national championship run. I want to just kind of focus on one. I was going to do a number. I may do another Quinshon Judkins, because I got to meet him, and he's a wonderful Christian guy.
Cool.
I mean, wonderful. There's a ton of them on that team.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole movement on the campus was just really beautiful to watch too. I really want to honestly get a couple of the guys on the podcast at some point.
Yeah.
Because the story of just revival and the story of like genuine pursuit of God and like community on the campus was just so cool to watch play out last year and the year before too. Like, it's kind of been coming.
And
but
being a student down there, I mean, I was a while ago, and I remember we would like pray for this. It's amazing to see now. I'm like, and I'm telling people like that, this is so beyond normal. Like, to see this happening like that, dude, they throw you out if you even mention God, like in a classroom anywhere. These guys planned a whole revival on campus, like
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Super beautiful. Yeah. I mean, mad props to the guys and the coaching staff and everybody involved with that revival, and everybody involved with just like, I don't know. I talk about boldness a lot on the campus, and like, it's really hard to be bold, to be that first person, second person, third person. But it's also equally as bold to like continue after like a big wave of revival. Like after like the masses kind of get involved and you get a lot of people like chasing Jesus, then the aftermath, it's like so hard to stay consistent with pursuit of God.
Yeah.
And I think something I just saw from afar was just the genuineness of everybody, and the fact that like it was just a bunch of individual pursuits of God kind of coming together. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, this guy's leading us. Yeah, like we'll just follow him. You know, everybody's like individually being changed, which is cool.
Yeah, that's like that revival. It's wild. You know,
Yeah.
you hear this guy, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And the alumni were coming back too. They said those guys, alumni football players, came back to help it.
That's cool. That's so epic.
Yeah.
Great to be a Buckeye.
Yes.
Okay, to finish this painting really quick, and I want you to talk about like kind of the way that you paint as well, and the way your art is kind of put together. As I look out around the room at all these paintings, there's a lot of texture to them,
Yes.
and if you get up close to the painting, like parts of the image stick out. Can you explain what you're painting on and what you're adding in, like the elements?
Yeah, so there's I'll draw it all in pencil first, and then I just kind of go through and I think, what do I want to emphasize? What do I want to pop? And, you know, the quarterback just blasting off the turf and all those pellets coming up was so impressive to me. Like, I'm like, those are all, like, dude got smashed into that.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to really emphasize those. I knew in the end I'd want to skip over those with a palette knife. You know, the raised texture will be like that, and I'll just scrape over it with a palette knife touched on the black in this case. Black, a little bit of blue, a little bit of purple, and then the texture grabs it. So it just stays on those texture beads, in this case beads. And in this case, those beads, I had them on there, and it would scrape across those. And then same with...
So you're adding different elements into it.
Yes,
like you're painting on top of things. Like it's not just the canvas. You're adding
Yes.
different things that
Yeah,
raise up.
Yeah,
off
that's
of the
something
canvas.
I probably started that 20-some years ago now, but I would add
Really?
all these. I was doing IndyCar for a while, and I'd put these big, deep texture strokes around the tires to get those to pop out and get them really looking like they're, crushing and stuff flying off of it. You know, there's a scene I did, I think, coming through, and there's a little bit of water coming up, spray. So
Oh, wow.
got that with
That's
some
cool.
texture. Yeah, it was. So that got me going. And then I just started incorporating and all kinds of stuff. Anything I want to bring attention to and pop out and get, because it'll create a high contrast area where it'll grab the highlight paint on top. You know, when you go over it. So I'll put like a darker color underneath or whatever color, and then the contrast color on top. It hits that texture and it'll create a real sharp edge, and it'll create, like, for the turf, a very natural flaking, or turf look. Instead of having to place a little dot, that'd be very static if I painted each.
Yeah.
And it'd be boring. It'd take forever. I'd be depressed. But this I could just crush through with a big brush stroke through it and let the paint just come off organically. It also fights AI, because now all this AI stuff, they got AI computer things trying to draw like a painter or paint like
Right.
a painter.
Yeah.
So I want to stay ahead of all those things too.
You definitely stay unique with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it gives you the unique mark and identification of, oh yeah, this is Shaun's work.
Yeah. And that brings that painting up, like the creation now comes up. It's not just going two-dimensionally.
Yeah.
There's creation
3D.
coming out of it too. So it just adds another level that you can create with, So I
Yeah.
can think through in the 3D. And so that really gives you more tools to use.
Yeah.
And then I can incorporate objects in there too if I want. There's some cases where I incorporate other objects like the Jesus and, various things like that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Jesus painting really quick. So it's right behind you here, to your left. It's hard for you to kind of turn around and look, but kind of take a glance at it and then just kind of explain to me what the inspiration was behind this, and then a little bit of how you went about painting it and why maybe you incorporated some of like the colors per se and then like the perspective as well. It's a really beautiful piece. It's not just one canvas either. It's 3 different ones. Did you paint all of them at the same time? Or?
Yes, I assembled all 3 together, and building this canvas specifically took about 15 hours, just building it, getting it right, and then the painting of it was so. And the reason I did 3, I was trying to find a way to do the thief on the cross and get that perspective of something far away, the far hand and the far, that real feeling of like I'm on the cross next to Jesus. And I could just relate. There was a very vulnerable time late in college, early college, where
So
Go ahead.
is that Jesus or is that the thief then? Because I
That's
see
Jesus.
the crown
And then see, there's another cross.
back on the left.
Yeah, that's the thief. This is Jesus. This is supposed to be the view from the thief, as if I'm the thief on the cross.
Oh, you're looking to your right.
Yeah, I'm looking past
I
my own
see.
hand
Okay.
and seeing Jesus. So this is what I thought the thief would look, because I could really relate to, I felt like I could relate to the thief on the cross when I first became a Christian. I felt like I just squandered everything, all my gifts. I spent my first year in college just bouncing around, goofing around, and just was in a bad spot, So I just felt like God rescued me, scooped me up, just kind of dusted me off and put everything back together, like pretty quick. Like I was trying to walk on the wrestling team. I was in engineering, just getting my brains beat in. Like why I was in engineering, like I thought you drove trains. I thought an engineer was like a dude, like with a cap and stuff,
Choo choo.
Yeah. I'm like, when do we drive the trains here? So,
That's funny.
yeah. And there's just like all these like international kids just destroying me in physics. And I'm like, dude, you guys never stop studying. So,
He's like, don't you want to do anything else with your life?
yeah, I know.
Don't you want to paint?
Yeah. It's one of you get some ADD and get something else going on here, man. It's not that bad a life.
Oh,
So,
that's
but
funny.
I got, so, when I became a Christian, that like, first off, it just felt like all this guilt get washed away and just everything started, I made the wrestling team. I switched out of engineering. I just got on a better track. Everything, Jesus makes everything better, puts the pieces together. But I really felt like I could relate to this thief on the cross, like, because at that point I just had nothing. I felt like, so to show that, and like that was going to be the title, but it's a little negative. The title was going to be "Which Thief Will You Be?" But then I changed it to like "Reaching Forgiveness." So this is the point where the thief reached forgiveness, and it's Jesus reaching back to us with forgiveness. And building out the canvas has really created that perspective of like, this hand's really close. Because, when you're like that hand's going to look really close.
Yeah.
And then this other hand should look a lot further away.
Super far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So doing that.
The perspective is definitely done beautifully.
Yeah. And I wanted to show a lot of the violence in the crucifixion too. So I emphasized like just the splatters of blood, just chucking the, wet paint on it. I put the screws in the crown of thorns. There was like screws coming through the back, big, 2.5, 3 inch long wood screws. And there's copper wire in the thorns. The
crown of thorns is definitely the ugliest part, which is the most beautiful part.
Yeah.
You did a good job there.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It was just felt very inspired, and so yeah, that was the second version. I did a small version for a master's project I was doing. And it just had such a positive response. I mean, my professor at the end, he's like, I hate everything about this topic. I'm responding as an atheistic homosexual, and I hate everything about this topic, but this painting's amazing.
Wow.
So I was like, that's the highest compliment I could get.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to go on and make this bigger version. So, two gallery openings ago was Good Friday, so I brought it in for Good Friday, and it was a good conversation piece. And so,
do you view your art as ministry?
Yes. I think that's a lot of like, probably at least a third or more of what goes on in this gallery seems to be some ministry of some sort. I mean, either to me or to others. Like even just having that conversation tonight with the lady who popped in was it was ministering to me. It was just like building me up. Like I need to, lean into this, and just. God's really blessing this, so seeing what God's blessing, and then it opens up conversations. I mean, some people I have scriptures in a lot of the paintings, and
yeah, I saw that. You kind of like tag a lot of your bigger paintings with scriptures, like you put them in there. Yes. Just like a little verse.
Yes, and I think I reached a point where I got real sick at one point, and I mean, they were telling me all kinds of stuff, like you could die, we don't know what's going on. It was just a stress virus because I was, balancing too many things.
Yeah, it's the ADD.
Yeah, and then leaning in, desperation, all this stuff, like really trying to produce my art business and just doing too much. But at the end of the night, the one night I thought, this could be it. Like I was really sick. So I got up and painted a scripture. I thought, I want to be remembered, if I do die tonight, I want to be remembered for more than just being a good artist, like have something scriptural in there, so I put my favorite verse in there, and then people can talk about it or not, like they can walk past it. I think I've had 2 people in 30 years be like, crash out pissed that they're going to say something and walk out,
Yeah.
The only one, really. The one lady just said, I can't buy this because we are Hindu and my husband, I cannot bring this home.
Yeah.
She wanted to buy it for her son.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's totally understandable,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But no one really, it's never, all the lies in your head are like, oh, you're going to, I don't know, life's going to be totally different and over if you do this. But
yeah.
it's just lies.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think there are so many times for me, even with this podcast, where, I'll be talking to somebody and I'll have anxiety about even talking about faith, or just in regular conversations, just like bringing faith into the picture and talking about my journey and my testimony. And I always have those lies in my head, like, it's going to be awkward. You're going to look stupid. They're going to be mad at you. Like, they don't want to hear about your story that deep. You're not that deep, all this stuff. And I just like always kind of hear this voice, that voice in the back of my head. And then the voice on my soul, the Holy Spirit be like, just do it anyway. See what happens. I think that's also like so funny. The way God works, for me at least, is when he challenges me to do things, it's this voice of like, okay, like, yeah, that may happen. Like, that's real. Could happen. But like, just do it anyway for fun. See what happens. And he kind of like challenged me. I'm like, all right, bet. So I like do it. And 9.9 times out of 10, the other person is more ecstatic to talk about that than I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like humbled, because I'm like, here I am, like kind of on the fence. And then I bring it up and this person's like, yes, please, let's talk about this. Wow, this is refreshing. Like, nobody wants to talk about this. Yeah. Like, I want to talk about this with you,
Yeah, I think, and I've been alive obviously longer than you. And so, like we've
just lived, a little
bit, but we've lived under this like charade. I think the curtain's been drawn back of like, all these other things being the source of life and happiness in the world. Like, I think the curtain's been drawn back a lot on that this last 5 years. Where people are like, all right, we're open to talking about this, and there's just no, like, that's, I think, where that Ohio State thing comes from, that these revivals all over, especially the young people, they are idealistic, and they're like, no, the charade's over. We're not buying into this other stuff. And so it makes Jesus, as if it's a viable option in the midst of all and multiple choice, that's going to way stand out,
Right.
So it's, all the others have been shown to be, you take like a super easy multiple choice test, you're like, that's not it. Like, sometimes you got like a gimme teacher who's trying to help you and they just give you this. It's like, and that's the way this was. Like, it's obviously sports is going to fail us, and this, university who just locked us down like crazy and is going to fail us. And then the government, like, what are we going to believe in? My job or whatever, they're firing people like crazy.
Yeah.
So like, I think
from the student's perspective, you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, students I keep in touch with my students, and they were like, dude, I just had a van come up and raid our party and just suspend all of us at Ohio State. Like, just went around with cameras. Like, 4 people got out of this white van, just went around and just took photos of everyone, video, went back and suspended everyone Monday.
Wow.
Like, dude, that's like crazy, like, totalitarian stuff,
Yeah.
And they were existing in that, like, while everyone else is out, going to parties and,
Wow.
So, it's, I think it was it really set God up, like, that God allows it to, he allows us to paint ourselves in corners. He let me do it in college. I painted myself in a corner I couldn't get out of, and I'm like, God, come get me. And he just comes and pulls you out. And like,
what did that look like for you? Like, being pulled out of that?
Like,
like being pulled out of the corner.
Oh, it's just, I'll start crying. I don't know. It's just like amazing. This dude came to Ohio State, and somebody I'd never met from Michigan State, and and I said, though, there was this vow, because God hears all our vows, I'm never going to church again unless someone does a miracle right in front of me, because I'm just so dramatic. My wife will tell you, like, you're just always so dramatic. But I am, like, whatever. But this was like a deal. I'm like, I'm never going to have to go to church again, because God will never do a miracle right in front of me. Like, that's ridiculous. So I never have to go to church again. So I just didn't go for a while, and just I'm running my life into a ditch. My life's in the ditch firmly. And then this guy from Michigan State comes. He talks about heaven. He talks about hell. He talks about craziness. I'm like, nice talk, but I'm not going to church again. But then the dude gets all of us up. It was at the Drake Union at Ohio State. And there was like, I don't know, 25 of us. Not a lot of people. But huge back then. That would be a huge thing. That's why this revival thing was giant. But there's like 25 people. He gets up and they knew the visitors were like, 6 of us were like the visitors. And he goes up and he says specific prayers over each of us. Well, this prayer he said over me was what they call like a prophecy or something like that.
Like a prophetic word,
yeah.
Almost, yeah.
He gave me this prophetic word, and I wasn't listening like a good, like dude who's, I didn't even listen to the prayer, but I went back and sat down, and the one pastor said, hey, to the one girl, he's like, did he tell you what was on your mind a little bit? And I thought, that was weird. So I tried to remember, which I shouldn't be able to remember because I wasn't listening, but I remembered, it's like God replayed each sentence the dude said back in my mind, and I realized that dude just read my mind. He just bullet pointed my whole life. He said deep desires that I've never even told my mom. I knew a couple of those. I've never said that out loud to anyone. And then he's like, you're going to do this in the future. You have the peculiar anointing of evangelist. That was something he said specifically. And described basically being a teacher.
Wow.
While I was in engineering school. I was not.
And that's like a desire that you had specifically?
It matched all the desires I had. I never want to be a teacher. I want to do everything that a teacher does.
Okay.
But my dad was a teacher coach, and he's like, you're a teacher coach. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. Just being a bullhead,
Yeah.
But eventually I came around to it. But he, prophesied my life. And I was so freaked out that guy read my mind. I just said, God, I know now you have to be real. Because that's the only way that dude could know that stuff, is if there's really a God. And if there's really a God, I'm for sure going to the hell that dude just talked about, because all the way I just lived the last 6 months is not good, really not good. So I just had this doom in my heart. I just felt like mud smashed down in my heart, of guilt. And I just said, God, you know what? You can have me. I give up. If you'll take my life, you could have it, but I wouldn't take it if I were you. And I just kind of put my head down and thinking I'm doomed,
Yeah.
Just with all the way I was brought up, you're supposed to earn things. I'm like, I can never unearn or earn back what I've just screwed up,
Yeah. Wasted away, and now you're sitting in a place where you're just completely at zero, negative almost.
Yeah. And right there, I put my head down saying that prayer. I felt all of it just in a split second, just gone. It was just gone. I guess I had said a sinner's prayer. That was basically and I was just surrendering, and it was just all gone. And I didn't understand any of that. I just knew I felt totally different. I couldn't explain it. I just felt this is what forgiven is. This is what all these prayers, all these sermons I've heard about, your sins will be forgiven. That's has to be what this is. It just felt so weird. And then I was just changed forever. I went back, and my roommates were like, dude, what's wrong with you? Because they knew Crazy Shaun.
Yeah.
I was the leader of the crazy pack. And I'm like, you know what, guys? I don't care what you think. This is, I'm going back. I want to know God the way those guys, whatever they're doing, I got to figure this out. And I had friends they didn't talk to me for years. They were very offended, that
Really?
I was going, because it wasn't a Catholic. I was raised Catholic. It wasn't a Catholic church. And my family was very upset. I mean, everyone, they just thought it was an occult. You know what I mean? That's their understanding of this, Cleveland's highly Catholic. So down there, Columbus, there's a lot more non-Catholic churches. There's these big mega churches. And this was just a little church on campus. And it closed less than a year later. It was totally closed.
Wow.
It was a trip. God just used that to pluck me out. And then my roommate became a Christian the next night. My other dude, who was just as crazy as me, he's like, I want to go see these guys. My mom gave me a Bible. I never knew. He was hiding, to this whole point he was hiding a Bible under his pillow every night. He'd pull it out whenever no one was looking and read it.
Isn't that crazy? That's wild.
Yeah. So and then we want to be in best friends and helping each other through, because they say it's great to have someone to grow with.
Definitely. Yeah, I've experienced that. I wouldn't be anywhere close to the person I am, or even pursuing creative pursuits if it wasn't for the people in my life.
Yeah.
So I resonate heavy with that for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for asking. That was wonderful. Yeah, it was, I don't want to say a while ago, but it was my sophomore year.
A while ago.
Dated. Yeah. Were you born in 99? I saw that was
I
your
was
code
born in 98.
98. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
March of 98.
Yeah. Jeez.
What year was that? In 80s, right?
In my
Or
yeah, for me,
in
yeah,
college?
that was 88. Yeah. That
88,
was like
yeah.
88, yeah. 98. What was I doing in 98? That was my I was 3 years coaching at Ed's at St. Ed's.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Which is
teaching
up here in
yet.
Cleveland. We're in Cleveland, Ohio, by the way,
Yes,
guys.
yes. Everyone knows Ed's. I mean, I know people in the nation know St. Ed's for a wrestling.
Really?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Well, if you know
If
St.
there's any
Ed,
wrestling people out there,
if you know St. Ed's, drop a comment.
Yeah.
Let us know. No, it's beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely encouraged by it. It's just really cool to hear, the moment that you reached rock bottom, essentially, and the moment where you just like felt completely humbled by the truth of the gospel, it sounds like, and like what you were experiencing in that moment, like the weight of your sin just like hitting heavy, and you're just like, I can't really do anything. And to me, that's beautiful, because I had a similar moment, like in 2021, and that's the moment that I define, my salvation, because I think before that, even though I grew up in a Christian home, I never had that moment. Truthfully, it was always, similar to you, like doing the right things in order to get to the place, the right things to get to the right place. That was my life, and doing it to also like please other people around me too. So yeah, when you actually hit that rock bottom and you realize like you can't really do anything, is where the beauty starts. It's where you're able to just like find hope in Jesus, so it's sick.
Yeah, it forces you in that corner, like that's, and you have to, I think, I was just telling someone, thank God there was no one there to rescue me. Like my mom would have for sure rescued me out of it, but I'm like, it's good. That's why I think this happens so much in college, because you're there alone and you don't want to disappoint your parents. You don't want to disappoint others. And so you do that last, unfortunately it's the last resort. We're like, God, please.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. Okay. One more painting before we kind of move on,
Yes.
but, there's a smaller painting over here, and I'm a huge color guy. I like pastel type colors. I like warm colors and just like different combinations that bring out like a home feeling, like Midwestern sunsets. It's just it hits.
Oh yeah.
But there's this painting over here called Furious Finish.
Yes.
Yeah. Churchill Downs.
Yes.
Kentucky Derby. Such a simple painting, but to me, I don't know, that one stuck out to me the most visually, because I love the colors in it. Can you explain that one a little bit?
Yeah, I loved horse racing, and I started doing that because Leroy Neiman did a lot. And that was part of, and it was horses are the hardest thing to paint and draw.
What's that?
Typically of just animals. That's what people say. They're just the hardest animal to get accurate.
Harder than like human faces, or?
No, hardest animal. I guess.
Oh, hardest animal. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess
Got
we're animals too, technically, if you're going to be a scientist, but
I'm not here to be a scientist on this podcast.
Oh, animals. That's the hardest animal.
Okay.
And they just, maybe it's just that they're very cut. They're they're muscular and just, I don't know why they say they're hard. So I just would focus on those and the action and pure amateur athleticism of a racehorse is just so awesome. I love doing like amateur. I started doing like a lot of Olympic art paintings, and that was, again, Leroy Neiman was the official artist of the Olympics, but I just was drawn to that because there's people doing it for the pure love of the sport. Mm-hmm. The horses are doing it for the pure love of the sport.
Yeah.
And there's just incredible athleticism, rigor, drive, urgency, and you watch these movies about horses and they have this drive, like they describe some of them, they're like, Oh yeah, he just loves to win. Like I'm like, they don't talk. Like, how do you know this horse loves to win? I mean, it's neat to kind of project stuff, but I mean, maybe they're right. I don't know. They talk about horses have a personality and a style they race, and so
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about horses, but I've definitely heard stories of horses kind of being depressed as well, and like getting all animals, dogs, cats, like being depressed, and but like dogs and horses specifically. So I don't know. I mean, if a horse is in a position where it loves the rush and loves the racing, you could probably tell if it's depressed or not. You know, if it's having a good time. So I believe it.
Yeah, but that was commissioned by the owners of Captain Bodgett, the horse on the left.
Okay.
And it lost by a head. It was like the closest race until a few years ago. Like it was a Kentucky Derby. It lost to Silver Charm. I think it was 98.
Okay.
So the owners of the horse of Captain Bodgett, and I purposely cheated him up a little bit. Just
got to make him look good.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew you got to know your audience.
You said you take your inspiration from who again? Leroy
Neiman. Yes, Leroy Neiman.
Okay.
He's passed. It was always a goal to meet him. I probably should have pushed more to meet him, but he was just awesome. Big handlebar mustache, big stogie. So he was in the Rocky movie. Like he was the ring announcer when he fought Thunder Lips.
Oh, wow.
Hogan. The thing came down and so.
Wow, but he painted. You said he like painted some of the scenes.
Oh yeah, he did. Well, he did at the end of Rocky 3 when Apollo Creed and Rocky had an exhibition match at the basement.
Yep.
They came and they fought and they freeze framed it right at the end, and that turned into a painting. And that was that was Leroy Neiman's painting. He had a painting in like almost all of those. There was, I think it was just called Balboa, maybe. Was that when he owned the Italian restaurant?
Yep.
So in the back of the Italian restaurant, I get goosebumps when I think of it. I've been getting goosebumps in my head. Think of this painting. It's in the back of his Italian restaurant.
I see him.
Yeah.
I see him right now.
Dude, yeah, it's just so kick-ass. That it was awesome that like Sylvester Stallone incorporated him in all of his movies. But in the back, there's a scene where he's going around, Sylvester Stallone's greeting all the people, and there's a big Leroy Neiman painting in there.
That's cool.
So he's, they're always doing cameos like that.
That's sick. What like, I mean, you seem to have like an emotional response to his paintings. When was like the first time you saw it, and what was the emotion that kickstarted? Because it seems like that was kind of kickstarted at least this style of painting. Yes. I don't know if it was art in general for you, but.
Yeah, I was always drawing and stuff, but when I got that poster from McDonald's, that was my first like exposure to Leroy Neiman. I didn't know who this guy was.
Like a kid's meal?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
really?
that was the first giveaway. Was like,
dang, we need to bring back those types of kids meal toys, dude.
And I'm trying to do that. Yeah, I mean, McDonald's reach out. We'll do something, with some posters.
For real?
Yeah, I'm actually pushing to try to do that. To get with these companies to do that. But that was before. Then they started making them like skewing these toys to like kids. But it used to be they give you these posters. He probably had some good. He had obviously some good promoters, and they were pushing the Olympics. So that was an Olympic year, '76, and they gave out every week or 2 weeks. They gave a different poster of one of his paintings of the Olympics. So there was like a swimming one, a running one. I still remember them. Like you could look them up. They're all those 76 Olympic poster series. And it was just such a huge hit. And that was my first exposure. And I just like, man, this is sweet. And I just kind of, then it went away. I don't think I looked up Leroy Neiman. There was no internet back then. We had like encyclopedias and goofy stuff like that. So I just... you just see him every 4 years at the Olympics. I wasn't really a horse race person, but I knew he was doing horse race stuff. Years later, he was doing like the Mike Tyson fights. They would hire him to do the artwork they'd use is make a ticket like this big. The tickets had one of his paintings on the ticket. And I worked at a frame shop for a while. People were bringing the tickets to frame the tickets because they were like pieces of art.
Yeah, I would too.
It was amazing. So like that's when I kind of got reinvigorated by his stuff. I'm like, this is sweet. He's still out there. He's still doing this stuff. And he was like the guy. Like, they have so many books. When we got married, my wife got me a big thick book of his, like like 60 years of artwork by Leroy Neiman.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was awesome. He died probably 12 years ago or so.
Sounds like a legend.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look up a lot of his stuff now because I'm not really well versed in it, but the way you talk about it makes it seem incredible.
Yeah, and that's really, a lot of people see my artwork and they're like, that's like Leroy Neiman.
If this is any testament to his work, you're crushing yours. So big fan.
He was even more blurry. He would kind of marry the foreground and the background. It was a touch confusing. It could almost give you a seizure if you're prone to seizures because it was like it married the foreground to the background. You're like, dude, this is like really pushing it. Like everything's blending a little bit, but you look closer and it was almost like, for those psychedelic people a little bit. It had elements.
A little trippy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trippy.
Yeah, trippy. I like that.
I love it.
We got to bring that back.
Got to bring trippy back?
Yeah.
Hey, you're doing it now. It's a little trippy.
Yeah.
It's Quinn Ewers is a little trippy, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. He's a little bouncy right there. I thought he might be upset by this, but Jack Sawyer, because that being his buddy, I wondered if he was upset. But he walked by it. He didn't know I was giving it to him. He saw it, and he was walking by because they were bringing him back to this big crowd in the back first.
Yep.
And he stopped. And he's like, "That's badass."
That's sick,
like, dude. That's sweet. He doesn't even know he's getting this, but so
you're like, little do you know.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hanging in your living room.
But that told me that he likes, he didn't feel one bit bad about blasting him on the turf.
That's cool. Yeah. I bet that was epic to get that reaction too, because it's not even like you finally get to walk up to him and he's in that mode of being friendly almost. Not that he's fake or anything, but when you're in a long line of people, you're trying to be supportive because they're supportive of you.
Yeah. So, and you don't know what's coming up next. You could get crazy person. I'm sure there's always a crazy person
always.
that comes up. But that he stopped, walking. He's like, that was sweet.
That's dope. I want to shift conversation a little bit towards the deeper meaning. We've talked deep a little bit already, but just the deeper meaning behind creativity a little bit as well. On our phone call, before, I flew out here, you were chatting a little bit about what it means to live creatively, and how living creatively doesn't necessarily just mean painting things and creating things, but it also means being genuine in relationships and everything too. Can you explain that a little bit more, your worldview on living creatively and how it kind of plays into relationships too?
Yeah. Me and my wife got engaged in Chautauqua, Lake Chautauqua in New York. Okay. And they are transcendentals is what their main thing there is. They want to invest and be a part when you go to these Chautauquas. These are big resort areas, and they want you to focus on things that transcend this world.
Okay.
Things that, not necessarily material things, but when you go there, you're like, everyone's so loaded here, So I'm like, how can you guys really be, think you're fake transcendentals? Yeah. But they're doing artwork and writing stuff and painting rocks, and they bring in concert series and preacher series. They are big faith-based area. They'll bring in Christian music people, and so it's feeding your soul. And I think that's focusing on people, and the things Jesus was into is souls, and just having availability to even tonight, when that we had that moment where people were coming and looking at the Jesus painting, and then she was very clearly wanting to talk about it and very complimentary and talking about deeper issues of it. And I was able to stop myself, and just say, this is what God's doing. This is truly a God moment that so just do this,
Right.
And I think that's part of so we're investing in the kingdom of God, that's entering the kingdom of God and trying to grow the kingdom of God. Because that's what I heard a pastor say, do what God's doing. Don't, you have the things you want to do, but sometimes God's not doing that, or he might do it down the road, but just do what God's doing and wait and let it come to the surface, if it's time to come, it'll come up, and then I can invest in that. So
I like that.
I've tried to learn to, when I teach people like, oh, you ought to just do artwork full time, and I'm like, but then I go the next day and I'll teach, and it's just this whole, you can feel God's kingdom growing when I really do it well. You're not always full on, but when I am
not forcing it
listening,
either.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, but when I'm available and just like walking around, talking to kids, helping them do their artwork, these kids most of them never thought they could do anything. They're terrified of art.
Yeah.
In a high school art. And I'm going around encouraging them, helping them unlock tools to draw the picture of their dog. And, the one kid's dog had just died. Like, this is close to this whole family's heart. Is this dog just died. The kid wasn't in school the next day. I mean, this is huge stuff. And he painted, to have it not look like a tarantula, which it was starting to look like, honestly. So I'm like, okay, dude, we're going to switch down to smaller brushes. You need to, so giving him tools that I know I've already done this. Yeah. So, but being patient and stopping and helping this kid with this very important thing that was going to be a Mother's Day present for his mom. So that's cool. Like, just those moments are like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I could go to New York full time and be an artist, but like, I don't know if I know I'm building God's kingdom a little bit here,
right.
Just that confirmed me. Just do that. I went to Fellowship of Christian Athletes this morning, and then just being a vessel and available, created this moment for this great guy, Jordan, came in and spoke. He was an NFL player and just shared the gospel, and these kids were like, everyone was silent, like 30 people are just like hanging on everything he's saying. I'm like, I am right where I'm supposed to be. Like, I am right where I'm supposed to be. Like, those moments, it's not like every moment's like that, but when you get the, it's a tent peg, like, yep, I'm where I'm supposed to be. So I don't need to entertain all these, oh, that guy's doing that guy's doing this. No, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Mic drop. Great, bro. Okay. Yeah, seriously. If you're listening, rewind it and listen to it again. Seriously. That was good. And very good advice. And good for me to hear, I'll always. The reason why I do this podcast, I say quite a bit, is because, like, I need to hear these things the most. And, my life is definitely like roller coaster of emotions, flashy things happening here and there. And I have to remind myself and be reminded by people like you, like, all the time. Like, slow down. Do what God has for you right now. And see what he gives you next. It's like the whole like concept of like stewardship, essentially.
Yeah. And surrender, like, just surrender to God, like, because you do that for 30 years. Like, I guess I've been doing that about 30 years now. And like,
wild.
You see, it's a life I could never have invented. Like, the life I had in my mind was living on a boat in Miami and driving a Ferrari. And I'm like, I got to go down to the Keys like a while back with my buddies before I was married. Oh, it was for my bachelor party. And I went by and I'm like, what's that dude doing? And they're like, he's living on this boat. And I'm like, and he just walks up and takes a shower there and then lives on this boat that I don't even think it runs. But I'm like, I just think that dude's a loser. You know what I mean? Like, you could never have a wife there. You could never have a family. I don't think you'd have a dog. Like, I don't know. I'm like, thank God rescued me from what I wanted, Like, and you just do that. And then after 30 years go by, you just see like this trail of God's like blessings, like, and it, it's all individualized, it's different.
Definitely.
Some people make $100 million and that's the same way, but it's not you can't compare it to what someone else is doing. Like, it's treasures, like my alumni come back and see me, at this time of year, and it's just like such a, the smile is unreproducible. Like, you can't buy that. It's just awesome, because you were there in those developmental hard times for them,
Yeah.
And funny times, like they laugh. Like, I could be like, yeah, dude, I remember when you were going to fight him, and in the corner when the one dude unplugged your computer, that's what we're just laughing about. I'm like, dude, that's weird. I had to run interference. Like, I'm like, that was going to be a total fight.
What made you realize, like for you specifically, what made you realize, what was a good passion that God put in your life that you should pursue, such as painting, and then what was something that you had desired that you needed to let go?
Like an example of it?
Example or just like what goes through your mind as you discern those things?
Sometimes it's not like, okay, so here, because I'm bullheaded, so like I tried to do anything I could to not be a teacher coach. I tried literally almost everything, to the point where people are like, I was on this interview to work for, I guess I just wanted to I don't know, like not, I don't know. I want to do just something cool. So I was doing this advertising agency interview, and it like looked awesome. Like I'm thinking, this is going to be sweet. They needed an ad agency account executive.
Okay.
So this would be cool. Like it's artistic, but it's businessy. So I'm doing the interview. It's like a 4-hour interview, and this is like 30 years ago when they didn't. I mean, that was very rare to do a 4-hour.
Yep.
And this dude's into it. It's a big time place. And one of the questions in the interview, the dude's like, what other interests do you have? Because they're trying to see, can you relate to other people? I'm like, I paint. I'm really into doing painting. I want to kind of be an artist and also and do this. And I'm like, so if I get this job, you think I could still do that? And the dude just looked at me. He's like, you'll be an account executive at an ad agency at, like a startup level. You'll never touch a paintbrush again. That's what he said. Mm-hmm. You'll never touch a paintbrush again. Mm-hmm. And in my soul, I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I just want to do it. I just want to be normal. I just want to have a real job. And I just want to get out of this seeming hell of unknowns. And he's like, hey, great interview. I love you. And I'm like, I think I got this, But there was a deep part of me saying, gosh, I'll never paint again. I just went home, and he's like, I got one more interview. He does one more interview, and he's like, but I'll probably be calling back, and, we'll have the job. So he calls me like 3 days later, and just the way he's talking, he's like, Shaun, I wanted to call you and just tell you this personally. He's like, the next guy I interviewed had like a double major. And the main account you'd be like in charge of is like whatever insecticides or something. It was something bizarre, like it wasn't insecticides. It was like insect larva.
Boring stuff.
Something bizarre I've never heard of. This dude, he's like, the next dude I interviewed had a double major, and the second major was in that exact thing.
Oh, wow.
And he's like kind of laughing, but kind of bumming. And he's like, dude, he's like, I think he said, you might be cursed. Like you. And I said,
or blessed.
Blessed, yeah. I said, I know I'm not cursed, but I just know like God keeps roadblocking. So he just roadblocked everything. Everything I tried to do, and I try to do everything. I even tried to be a pastor.
Oh, really?
And I was a pastor for like 3-4 years, and I was great at it. I was great, but then the head pastor just felt like, I don't know, if someone's watching. I don't know. It just didn't go. In the end, God caused friction between me and the head pastor to the point where they asked me to leave. And I had like grown the whole young adult group. I was great with young people. So like the main thing I was really good at was finding unchurched kind of people from the outside, bringing them into church and helping them out, discipling them, just caring for them, which is basically exactly what teaching is, except I don't have to ask for money.
Yeah.
So in the end, I was just thriving in being a teacher just in other environments. And then, so I finally just gave up, and I'm like, God, I'll try this. So because I was already coaching at St. Ed's, and I'm like, I'm just going to go throw in an interview, throw in a resume to teach art. I had 0 credits of education, like not a single one. And the job came open, but I was a really good coach. They loved me coaching. God really blessed me coaching there. And the girl just quit. The art teacher just quit to go make her boyfriend marry her out in California. And so it was like nuts.
Yeah.
That never happens. People don't quit those jobs because it's the greatest job in the world. And she quit. So they're like, Shaun, you better get down here like today because we're going to have 50 applicants when this hits the paper. So I went down. yada yada. They did get 50 applicants, but they handed me the job. Like,
Wow.
it was nuts.
Wow.
And they turned down a girl who had a master's from Michigan in art education.
Wow.
For someone who had a bachelor's in marketing from Ohio State, though. But I
Wow.
was perfect for that job because it was all boys, big jock school. Like, I'm great for that. Like,
Yeah.
I can relate to these guys, like.
Fit like a glove, it sounds like.
Yeah. I made up a class called sports art, which has just been it's always packed. There's always like 6 sections every year.
Oh, I'm sure. And a school full of boys, I'm definitely sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, you answer my question because I think
So
from
God
what
makes
it seems
it's
like,
a yes/no question. I always say God just makes it a yes/no. He doesn't make it complicated. You
yeah.
don't have to map out your whole life. You just say a prayer, surrender, like, God, please. And I'm telling myself this again because I'm going through it all right now again. Like, please help me. And then you walk and wait for the right answer to come up in front of you. It's going to be a yes or a no. Like, it's going to be obvious because he just still treats us at all ages like we're just sheep, like we don't have to all figure it out. Just the next step in front of you. Help me get that. And then, again, like doing it for 30 years and you look back, I'm like, man, he's been so faithful. I'm still freaking out about these next 3 steps in front of me.
Yeah, always.
Like, yeah. Like,
always.
Maybe he's not going to do these next 3 steps in front of me. The devil has a great way of terrifying us. And I think God, like, allows that, though, to see our courage and, us latch on to him. We have to constantly, every day, renew ourselves, renew our courage, and push through it.
No, I like that a lot. I mean, I definitely agree with you. And I like that you said, we're just like children. Like, we don't really know what's coming next. And so it's better to say that way and not act like we do know, because then we're just going to like take a wrong step anyway, get hurt, stumble, whatever. So I've definitely come to the point where just realizing like God's going to put that next step in front of me and it's my job to take it, but he's going to put it there. It's just like such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and what I'm starting right now, like, try to envelop is not just being a child, like, a clueless child, but like an excited child. Like, that's something I haven't had, but like, I'm excited. Like, kids that have a good father, they're excited for Christmas or birthday, like, or whatever. My dad's gonna take care of this, he's gonna, and not like he's doing everything, but like it's gonna be good, I don't have to be like, oh, is he, like an abusive dad, like. You're kind of cowering, like, I don't want to ask too much, like expectant, excited. And like you guys just doing this whole project. It's like you're doing it excitedly, You have a lot of hope, excitement, and like, okay, what's the next step, What's Dad going to do with us next,
Yeah. It's pretty much like that. It's been like that this whole time. I mean, anybody that's been listening can attest to just the fact that, like, I just knew God called me to start conversations. I didn't know how or when or where, and he's just kind of like provided every step of the way. Even with this, the reason why I'm excited about this episode is because there are a lot of episodes where he kind of provides inspiration on my end to be like, oh, I think this would be a good person. Let me reach out, talk to him, see if it is. But I get most excited when I'm just kind of like randomly introduced to or made aware of somebody that I just would have never probably guessed I would go and talk to. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is way out of left field, but like, let me see what God has here, because there might be something like really unique and cool. So for me, this is like one of my favorite types of conversations, because who would have thought I would have ended up in, West Cleveland, Ohio, talking to a guy who paints and teaches high school boys.
Yeah, keep reminding me that you're like totally foreign here. That's
not completely foreign,
yeah.
But I mean, I grew up like coming here. My aunt and uncles like lived here, but my life now is pretty foreign to it. It's like, and this podcast is kind of foreign to it. Everybody listening is probably like, "What are you doing up in Cleveland, Ohio?" You know what I mean? So,
I remember I talked to someone on the phone from. I worked for this church, and these people called in from California, and they're like, "Where are you at?" And I'm like, dude, you called this number. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just saw this number. I called it. I'm like, you guys are in California, right? Yep. I'm like, well, we're in Ohio. I think I said I'm in Ohio. They're like, Ohio? is that a state? I'm like, dude, what are you, and these were college kids. I'm like, dude, what
That's
are you
funny.
guys doing out there in California? You guys just surfing all the time? Or what?
Pretty much, yeah. Everybody's
It's a trip.
airheaded.
And I like that. Just I kind of like that they're just like California centrist. Like we're in the greatest place in the nation. We don't have to know anything about the rest of it. I'm like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
hey,
You know,
people do the same thing with Ohio. It's Ohio against the world.
Yeah,
People make the
yeah.
jokes of like, oh, Ohio's the center of the universe, like all that.
but I mean,
But
these guys
California's
really
definitely-
believe it. Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah,
really
100%.
I was in training when I was in sales for a while. I was a quick minute in sales, and this dude was from. I was in training. We flew somewhere, and I'm with this dude from San Diego. And the icebreaker was, tell us where you're from and tell us, where you want to go on vacation. And he's like, I'm from San Diego, and on vacation I want to go to San Diego. I'm like, what a jerk.
Those are San Diego guys, though. That we put them in a box.
But it was kinda
we let
true,
them live
like-
in their little corner, their little own world down there.
Yeah. But he's like, every day it's 78 and sunny. And I'm like, gosh, we want to kill this guy.
I always say like San Diego is like the dream for a lot of people, because
Yeah.
it is a dream to kind of live there. And once you go there, you do never want to leave. So
Yeah, I've never been there. I've been to Huntington Beach. That was pretty sweet. But I've not been down to San Diego. So
dude, Huntington Beach, that's my neighborhood. That's where I live. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I love it. That
Yeah.
was sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome down there. I love it too. It's definitely better than, well, not better in every aspect, but in a lot of ways, being by the beach and everything, it's better than where I grew up in Indiana, just in the middle of cornfields. So I like it.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to go down because I thought I was good at volleyball. So I went down. I'm like, I'll play volleyball on the beach. And I saw these people. I'm like, dude, I'm not touching this. Like that 8-year-old kid would smoke me. I'm like watching little kids. I'm like, dude, I'm not.
You're like, back to the studio.
Yeah. And I was the only person on the beach without a tattoo. Like,
Oh, yeah.
everyone, like 70-year-old dude, and everyone was just tatted up. I mean, this is like 30 years ago. So I couldn't imagine now.
You got tats now?
No.
No? Would you ever get one?
At this point, no, dude.
Yeah, you've already like lived the
Yeah,
no tat
I mean,
life.
those
Why
moments.
change it?
Dudes my age that have tattoos, it's rough. You know what I mean? Because they have 30-year-old tattoos.
Yeah, true. Kind of like wrinkles and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just. I mean, that wasn't like a big thing, and I was always like, I mean, they're expensive. Like
They
honestly.
are.
I mean, I can
know
either
people.
invest in my art business or I can buy. Like I'm looking at my brother had his legs sleeved.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He would tell me like, dude, this is crazy. The amount
Yeah, you
of
can
money.
pay up to like 10,000 for like one tattoo or more, depending on where you go.
Yeah.
Artistry, it's like people charge more. Same as like some people charge more for different levels of paintings and stuff. So it can get expensive. That's for sure. Yeah.
So I don't have anything against it. I just think they're expensive.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to get political at all, guys,
Yes.
but I want to kind of shed some light on some of the unique moments that you've painted and some iconic people that you painted too. So you have like this massive painting of President Donald Trump and Melania Trump.
Yes.
And then you have like sports moments like the snow globe game with like Nick Chubb running through defense. You even have like a Travis Kelce painting back there. What kind of got you into this world of painting iconic moments rather than just painting like a landscape, which you do have some landscapes as well, but why do you kind of focus your energy on like the iconic moments and people?
They're these super memorable moments, and to me, a lot of them they have a common thread of like there's like intensity and action in it. Like even the Donald Trump Melania, that moment was at the RNC their last night. It was just a huge like intense moment. Even though they're not like running, but it was a huge moment they were stepping out in. The snow globe game was a very iconic, exciting, intense moment that I was like connected to, and I wanted to just kind of capture it and make it more like levels of like with the texture and I do this dirty brush technique, I call it, or my teacher called it, where you dip the brush in like 2 or 3 colors, and they're unblended on the brush. And then, like, as you drag the brush with those 2 or 3 colors unblended, they kind of blend as they come off the brush. And
that's cool.
You'll see it in some of these, especially this Jesus painting has a lot of those kind of strokes that it blends as it comes off the brush. And so that's like an action, just gives a different level of intensity to it, or breaks it up, or makes it, I don't know, different levels of depth to it, I think. Like the depth and excitement. I like to do that in those, and to me, it'll make it a little more locked in. That moment, I try to like lock that moment. Like I say, when like LeBron, the block, when he hit the block, when he slammed Iguodala's ball against that for Clevelanders, like time stopped, you know, and that's where like it stopped then, you know, like
similar to this moment. It's just like you're either winning or losing at that point, and
the
such
ball's
an iconic
like on his fingertips,
right.
Like you could, you know, like only maybe half that ball's in, but his grip is going to clutch that thing.
Yep.
And the next half a second determines whether the ball comes out or he turns the corner and makes it.
Yeah.
Like those kind of moments I like to, when like time stops, and the painting can capture that. Painting it stops the moment and makes that moment more interesting with the dirty brush technique, the texture. You can just make it able to, people will say like, I can look at your paintings, just keep looking at it, keep looking. It's not boring every day. Where you have like sometimes a photograph, you know, you're like, okay, it's just the sharp edges. There's nothing left to the imagination, you know. But when you have the brush strokes mixing off, the texture, somewhat blurred, it can take on other, like you could just see different stuff each time. Like I'll look at it and I'll forget stuff, because when you use that texture, it'll make the brush, you know, I'm looking at some of these other paintings and makes the paint skip. And I know that paint skip wasn't in the photo, but it's there now. And I didn't even, because I just went through it kind of quick, but then I'm seeing those, the way the paint would mix. It's just fun to keep looking at, and I could look at it for years, and or I'll forget I did it and come back to it. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. That was cool. I put that purple and that shadow underneath, and that worked out pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I like getting those kind of
re-inspiration to your own paintings. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Like even seeing this Jesus painting, I just forgot some of the stuff, and this pulls you back in.
Yeah.
So I like finding a moment that's worth doing that too. That the moment needs to be worth looking at for the next 30 years too. So I want to choose those moments carefully, and then then it's worth looking at. So people are like, oh, you ought to do Odell Beckham, for instance. So when we got him, I'm like, oh frick, you know, he's going to turn all the Browns against Baker. I didn't know that for sure. I knew he was going to blow up something. I'm like, they're like, you going to do it?
He's a loose cannon.
Yeah. I'm like, Odell is not going to be here in 2 years. Who thinks Odell is going to be here in 2 years? And everyone's like, no. I'm like, I'm not painting. So that's where I'm like, nope, gone. Nope, gone. And even, you know, with Ohio State, like, who am I going to do? Like, someone who's going to stay. Like, with all the NIL stuff, I love all those dudes. I'm glad they're Christians. But, you know, dudes maybe they're not going to be there next year. You know?
Yeah, who knows? So you kind of look like for the center point, the people that are kind of like the crux behind any moment or like iconic time.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, something that can stay timeless. You know, timelessness, an element of timelessness is something we want, you know, like whatever that's going to be like. So hopefully, you know, he just has a great long career, and it's wonderful, you know. Jesus, we know he's going to be around for a while, you know.
Forever.
So,
hey, he going to be here. When we're long gone, he going to be here.
And the Terminal Tower, you know, some of these scenes of Cleveland, you know, it's like, so I try to pick things like that. The Coastal series I've done, you know, with those, you know, sea oats and pelicans.
They're beautiful.
And
those
are things that should be around a while. So, you know, it's something, again, like for, you know, down the road, you know, it's just something I can keep on, you know, selling that image or getting that image out to people, you know, and you know, whether the scripture ministers to someone or just the pelicans or the whatever it is that gives them some kind of soothing, you know, it could be an entry point, you know, the soothingness of these pelicans, and then they're like, okay, like I'm done looking at the pelicans, but now I didn't even notice that scripture right away. Let me look that up. It's God leads me beside still waters and renews my soul. Like, that's why I'm here.
That's
like,
beautiful.
You know, like that's, so, you know, hopefully that gives another level of depth. Because I remember as a kid, like seeing in some waiting room, I saw a great painting and I saw a little scripture in there, and that just encouraged me. I'm like, this guy's a Christian,
Yeah.
like it was right after I was a Christian. It just really encouraged me. I'll never forget that. Like, and I don't remember the artist's name, but I remember that. So that's what hopefully mine can do, is maybe help someone who's in some point where they need something.
Yeah.
Encourage,
Well, it seems like it already is. I mean, from stories you've told me and from seeing it firsthand here in the studio with the lady earlier before we got set up. Yeah, I mean, you definitely created and curated a space that is being used for ministry and also just for beauty. I mean, it seems like people, you have a welcoming space. It's not too chaotic. It's clean, people come in and they just get to, like, I don't know, sit in it. It's pretty cool. So, and
then that encourages me too. So it pulls me forward going through that, like just
I bet
talking through this with you and having me do all that, little journal entries at the beginning, that just pulls me to a higher point. So it all, they feed each other,
Yeah. Well, that's encouraging for me to hear,
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my canvas, I guess you could say. So it's encouraging to get feedback like that from you.
Yeah. This is building God's kingdom. It's solidifying. I mean, it's helped me tremendously being able to talk about this. And we were talking about that, I think, yesterday or the day before, where I'm like, that's what the beauty of these podcasts, because I could never really get it, but thinking out loud about it, I'm like, the beauty of it for, someone like me coming to be interviewed is I don't have to prepare a bunch. It's kind of a relief. You saying, no, don't. I'm just going to give you questions. You don't have to prepare.
Right. Yeah.
And because you could tell when people have prepared, like in these TV interviews, you're like, oh, that dude had to have. There's no way he had that depth of an answer.
Right away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But to think through it, it brings me to a higher plane, because of course, it's like a painting happening on the spot. Like I'm creating my answer. I'm getting to think through it. You're patient enough to allow me to think through it. And it's just a wonderful, lightning point, like where it strikes. And I'm like, man, I mean, I'm saying just in our talks.
Yeah, I like the lightning point.
Yeah, it's a flash point where that, can hit. It's like running around in thunderstorm carrying a big long rod out there. Like, you're going to get hit probably.
Benjamin Franklin out here.
Yeah, let's try. So that creates that allowing, like, okay, we're going to talk for 2 hours. So I'm like, I'll probably think of something good in 2 hours.
Probably. At least one thing.
Yeah. But if this was going to be 10 minutes, like, that's a lot of pressure. And when you're under pressure, you're not going to delve into deep thoughts,
Right. Well, dude, thank you again. Like, even for those further words, like, that's exactly what I'm trying to build here, and I really just want to create a space for people to be able to do that, for yourself, but also for everybody listening too. I just know it's so valuable for them. And I just want everybody to feel like they're in the room with us and able to have these conversations and process through some of the things that you're processing through. But also, like, guys, like, have these conversations with your friends, family. And if you don't, talk to other people in the community as well, like in the Created to Create community. So
I think it's great for that, like, just talk. And I do encourage people, like, get out to coffee with people. That was really undervalued in the 80s, and like people like, you need to be highly efficient. Going out and just spending 2 hours with someone at coffee, that's worthless. Where I just disagree. Like, it's, and I Sigmund Freud, I think it was Freud, they said on his deathbed, I haven't confirmed it, but the saying is, on his deathbed, he said, the sum total of my whole life could have been accomplished between two friends over coffee.
Wow.
And that's like what this feels like. It's like creating a nice atmosphere where you can feel free to express yourself,
Yeah.
And two friends, friends do that. They allow you to speak openly, and the suicide thing is way too prevalent right now. We're dealing with it. Some close people to us just went through that, and it's just very, I do not remember that happening, 40 years ago,
We allow a lot of heaviness to get to us,
Yeah.
And that's the enemy's goal, Satan's goal. It's good to combat it.
Yeah.
But
not to be all.
We're friends now.
Yeah.
So you can hit me up anytime you want.
Yeah. Likewise.
It's great. It's great to just like meet you and talk with you. And thanks for inviting us into your space. Thanks for inviting me into your space and everybody watching.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for letting us talk. That's great.
Of course. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Keep living life.
Yeah, and go Bucks.
Go Bucks. OH.
IO.
Later, guys. Peace.